Now, with just a month before the 2026 academic year opens, it's being reported that some Gauteng parents are growing increasingly concerned with them still waiting for their children to be placed at local schools. In a briefing last week, the Department of Basic Education announced that they were opening up their system for late admissions for grade 8 and 1 learners. A new deadline has been set for the end of January 2026. Now, joining us to share the latest admission figures and also discuss the new period for late admission is Steve Mabona. He's Gauteng Education spokesperson. Good afternoon, Steve. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
No, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Perhaps let's start with the latest admission figures. Last week you had your briefing. Where do you stand now? How many learners have been admitted for grades 1 and 8?
You'll remember that last week we were standing at about 80,000 and then we moved down to 40,000. Now we can update that we have about 15,000 of those that
are yet to be placed.
Yeah, yet to be placed.
Okay.
And we just want to apologize to parents and guardians because we've committed that by today we should have been done with the process. But because we are so highly pressured, especially in Ekurhuleni, the Kempton Park, Tembisa, and your Johannesburg East is more about your Ivory Park, and in Tshwane you have the area of Centurion and Pretoria East. Don't have much of the public schools there. And in Johannesburg North, the area of Randburg and Roodepoort is about your Florida. Those are the areas that we have a huge challenge in terms of the placement. But we will continue to make inroads in the intervention, increasing capacity, working with schools that are willing to increase, and also provide the mobile units that will be accommodating more in terms of the numbers at those schools. So we are working tirelessly to make sure that the number goes down. But yes,
it has gone significantly from that 40,000 you speak of, if we're now at 15. But what I remember from that briefing was that it was indicated that actually you have a lot of school space specifically. You were at around 80,000 when actually there were 40,000 learners to still be placed. But the problem was that these were not the more preferred schools. So it was still an issue of location. So why is it that these locations are not the most sought after? Where exactly is it, where you guys seem to have a lot of space, but nobody wants to go there?
No, it's about preference and, and myth that some schools are not teaching. But parents don't check on the performance of a school. They check on the legacy. I mean, if it's a former Model C school, parents will prefer their children to go there, even if the school is giving them 80% or even 75%, but they'll still prefer that school. And there are township schools that will give you 100%. So we are adding schools in areas where we are pressured, but the speed that we are moving with, it's not that of that one is acceptable. And we are making inroads to make sure that we have more classes in those areas because we are giving schools money to build extra classes. We are providing those mobile units. So that's the intervention that we have. And we have built your new schools in the form of mobile units. But some parents would not want to take their children to a mobile unit school. And you'll find that the school is teaching. The only difference is that it's not brick and mortar. So it's the preference that is a challenge for us.
But what are the challenges in moving apace with building some of these schools? Because we all know that when it comes to the budget, it's still a great significance of the budget still goes to education as an important portfolio. So what becomes the challenge if you're saying you struggle to build them at a faster pace?
No, the challenge is multi-layered in the sense that you have municipality that must approve when you build schools or when you want to expand the schools. And there's so much development in certain areas which is moving faster than us in terms of making sure that we build. And it's a challenge that we said we will take it to the municipalities to say, if you approve development, don't forget that children that are in the new development, they needed schools. So let's also accommodate that. But working very closely with our implementing agent, the Department of Infrastructure in Gauteng, there are schools that are going to be launched in the next financial year.
Okay.
And there are those that will be starting to build. Yes, indeed, there's about 18 schools that we should be in a position to deliver in a very short space of time. But we are trying to move with speed.
And then to the appeals processes, because there seems other parents have gotten space at certain schools, but they're not entirely happy with the school. They say these were the only schools that appeared for them, so they had no option but to select. I'm sure you've heard all the stories and all the complaints. How does the appeals process work if you're a parent and you're not entirely happy with the school that your child is supposed to start at next year?
No, thanks very much. Most of the parents that would be objecting and sending appeals is those that would have applied at high-pressure schools only. I mean, the parents will not apply to a school that is closer to them, whether the school is far, as long as it's what they prefer. And we'll then have to go back and check on the school that can accommodate them. So we'll then transfer the application to a school that we can accommodate. Those parents then, they can object.
But would have they applied on time? Are you saying that if it's a high-pressure school, but it's not within the specific or specified radius, you're taken to the back of the list? Even if I was first, but I specifically identified a high-pressure school, am I somehow taken to the back because of how far I am? Or how does it work? Why do they find themselves not being taken at that high-pressure school if they were first?
No, it's not first come, first serve.
Okay.
You can apply on the last day. But if you are closer in terms of the criteria, you are closer to that school, we're going to place you first because you are closer to a school. Because some parents are contending that, yes, I was the first, I supplied documents, I did everything on the first day. We remind them that it's not first come, first serve. It's as per the criteria. The closer you are to a school, if the previous school is in the area, there's a sibling in the school, you work in the area as a third one, within 30-kilometer radius and beyond, then you will be placed, but not that you applied on the first day.
So then just in closing, what do they need to do? Because I heard even the MEC stressing that do not try to appeal by reaching out to him on Twitter or his Facebook. Where do they go exactly?
They appeal online. You object there first. The objection will be attended to. And I must say, I mean, out of the over 4,000 objections and appeals that we have received, we have attended about 70% of those. And there are those that were positive towards or favorable to the parents.
Okay.
When you look at the objections, but some, they were not. That's why you will then have appeals, but they must do it online.
Steve, it's always a pleasure to have you with us in studio. That is Steve Mabona. He's Gauteng Basic Education spokesperson. They just bring us the very latest.